starting a trip riding on the beach is about as cool as it sounds. Topsail Island is one of my favorite places, and I've been looking forward to this trip for weeks. Life has been so busy, but all I needed to worry about now was pedaling. Just pedal, eat, sleep, repeat. Day 1 starts on segment 15 of the Mountains to Sea Trail in Surf City. I'll finish the day in Jacksonville, North Carolina, with around 42 miles on day 1. There were heavy rains in the forecast, but thankfully they all went through at about 4 in the morning, and I was able to start my ride with my rain gear stowed and temperatures in the mid-60s. Thankful to be on the road, I leave chaos and worries at home, and I'm excited to explore a new part of the state that I've never been to. Stone Creek Game Land sits north of Sneed's Ferry by a few miles and provides a welcome escape from the highway riding. With every trip I've taken out here, I find myself enjoying the game lands more and more. It's some of the best gravel riding you'll find in the Carolinas. The mountain biker in me is always excited to find some single track. Not sad about my choice of sand tires on this bike either. A little soupy today. Just about ate it because I was trying to hold the GoPro with one break. Not a good plan. So I'm just going to enjoy it and have fun. So I'm not going quite as fast as I could, but I'm having to hold the GoPro with my hand because I forgot the helmet mount. Whoops! Oh well. Having a good time though. Yeah, so I'm gonna be straight with you. It's pretty sandy. If it hadn't rained last night, I'd be pushing it. So far I've had beach riding, some nice road riding, gravel riding, single track, pushing my bike over a sketchy bridge, riding through puddles. It's a good day. It's a lot of fun actually. This is a nice break after being back on the single track because it was pretty stuffy back there and hard work. Now I'm just riding along the lake. So after leaving Stone Creek Game Lands, the MST takes you along a super busy 4-lane highway. I wasn't real stoked about this, so I found this really nice gravel road that seemed to run directly parallel to it. Funny story about this gravel road, I was not supposed to be on this. I was actually riding on military property, and all of the land on my left was actually a training ground for military exercises that use live ammunition. A construction contractor saw me riding along and encouraged me to get the hell out of there before the local sheriff or military police came along and gave me a ticket. Oops. Oh well. Back on the highway. I finished the day by crashing in a motel in Jacksonville, grabbing some dinner by the water, and I even managed to catch a pretty sweet sunset from my hotel room. Day 2, Jacksonville to Cedar Point Campground. Camping options are pretty limited in this area, so I had to go a little bit off route today to camp. started the morning cruising through Jacksonville and made a stop at the Lejeune Memorial Gardens. The exhibit was both beautiful and heartbreaking, seeing the names of so many lost loved ones. Managed to catch it while the flowers were in bloom as well. Now, you're not actually allowed to ride a bike in the memorial, so I explored this part on foot. Jacksonville is a military town with bases all over. The MST follows a greenway that threads through the town for several miles and allows you to bypass most of the busy highways. You do also become acutely aware of the military presence in this part of the state. You ride parallel to military bases for a lot of the miles in this segment. And I've always seen the planes and helicopters flying down the Carolina coast, but I understand now where they're all coming from. These bases are like cities within the city. Riding a greenway is definitely a treat when so much of the route covers highway miles. The miles go by fast, and you're able to get a sense of the local scenery. Back on country highways. Most of them are really quiet and make for a decent ride. You do learn to appreciate them. So much of the MST is just sitting back and enjoying the journey itself. If you get too caught up in a destination, you can miss a lot of the beauty along the way. Alright, so it's not always glamour on a trip like this. I am in Stella, North Carolina, just finished, I think, segment 15, starting 16, and just camped out by the water under a bridge because today is mostly like country highway miles and there's not really anywhere to like stop and sit. So I'm here with my gas station junk food lunch and I'm so excited about it. It's gonna be great. And I got this awesome leftover biscuit from breakfast with their whipped butter and it should be glorious. And still having fun. Farmland's not my favorite and I'm in a headwind all day, so doing what I can, but it's still a good day and it's about 65 and sunny, so it's about perfect outside. So catch you all later. Did like 15 miles of farm road, which is fine. Finally, I'm back on some gravel. Way more fun. A lot quieter too. Give me a good dirt adventure any day. I promise I'll have a good time. It's so cool back in here. I detoured south of the MST a little bit to stay at Cedar Point campground, which I gotta say is a worthwhile detour. The campground itself is really nice, with hot showers and a welcoming host. The campground is also walking distance from the Cedar Point Tideland Trails, which is a pretty unique boardwalk trail through a coastal marsh. Since my route was a bit shorter today, this gave me some time to explore the area a bit and also grab some dinner at a nearby restaurant, which was within biking distance of the campground. All in all, a great finish to the day. So I stayed dry, stayed warm. Had gale force winds go through the coastal area last night. Thankfully stayed dry and my tent did alright. It was fairly protected back in here, but today is my longest day and it's like over 50 miles and then mostly non-pavement, so there'll be slower miles. So starting early and hoping to give myself plenty of time and see how my body does. Catch y'all later. Chilly morning. The headwinds were so bad on the highway, I'm actually making better time on the gravel. So thankfully, not too far, and it popped me out onto a forest road, which is heavily tree covered, keeps me away from the wind, but the wind's gonna be my enemy today. I got over 50 miles, so hopefully I stay in the trees. And I did. Like, I had no idea what I was in for, but the clouds broke apart. The sun came out, leaving me with breathtaking views, and not another person in sight. Just a great day for a bike ride. Well, I knew this was going to be an interesting day. Even more than I thought. Well, if I wanted an adventure, I think I'm gonna get one today. The road got soft, and then it got sandy, and then it got really sandy, to the point where it was absolute sugar sand and it was not rideable. Not gonna lie though, the scenery in this section was super cool, and it was one of the highlights of my day. Apparently this area is nicknamed the Sand Pit, but eventually I emerged from it onto a new forest road. This area was at least much more rideable. At least most of the time. So you know what I told myself once I got on the grassy knolls? I said at least it's not the sand road. And about a mile later, here we go. More pushing. I finished out this area on some well-groomed gravel, and then emerged onto the highway near Newport, North Carolina, where I would begin about a 20-mile stretch of highway miles that would take me through Havelock, where I grabbed some lunch, and past another military base. From there I went north towards the Pine Cliff recreational area, and the gravel road that leads to the water was actually closed from hurricane damage. So the route detoured me onto some single-track horse trail that ended up being pretty chunky in places, and a little more mountain biking than I had in mind for mile 40. The payoff was absolutely worth it though. Pine Cliff has this amazing eroded forest that overlooks the mouth of the Neuse River. Years of harsh weather and hurricanes eat back into the forest and leave this amazing graveyard of trees that are still rooted into the sand. I spent quite a bit of time down here, and this ended up being one of the coolest areas I've seen on the whole MST. This portion was off trail, so eventually I had to push my bike up the shoreline and reconnect to the Newsiak Trail. This trail, I haven't done anything like it ever before. It's tough. Very interesting though. I don't know if you can see how far back in there that goes. The Newsiak Trail that heads southbound out of Pine Cliff was tough. So much tougher than I expected. I stopped filming It was late in the day, I was out of steam, and by the time I was back to the highway, I realized I had almost 2 hours of riding left. I opted to take a gravel bypass because my legs couldn't do any more single track that late in the day. The gravel bypass added more miles, and truthfully I was totally shot around mile 48, but there wasn't an option to stop, even as the light got lower. I logged 60 miles that day, which is the longest I've ever ridden in a day. Bikepacking has a funny way of showing you where your limits are, and then taking you past them. You find out you're stronger than you thought, and you're mentally tougher for the next ride because of it. Even though this day took everything I had, it was one of my favorite days on the whole MST, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Last day, 50 miles to Cedar Point, which is the last tip of land before the Outer Banks. Yesterday took everything I had physically, so today very much became a mental game for me. I tried to set a strong pace in the morning, knowing that that was the most protected I would be from the wind all day. The ride started on some nice quiet country roads, but would eventually lead me to Highway 70, which becomes the only remaining road as you get closer to Cedar Island. So I'm supposed to get up on that bridge from my current location, which should be great fun with my bike. I don't think it's going to be much fun. Incidentally, it was not. I didn't know I was going to have a big hill today. Normally highway miles aren't my favorite, but I do admit that this route was pretty cool. Lots to see and constantly changing scenery as you got closer and closer to Land's End. Halfway point for the day. Pretty tired. Right knee's hurting and right leg is hurting, but lots of coastal waters out here that are really cool to see. Enjoyable ride and a perfect day. Just tired. Windy. As I crossed onto Cedar Island, there was about a 7-mile stretch with nothing but a lonely highway and a headwind blowing right in your face, with utterly nothing to protect you. Mentally, this was by far the toughest stretch for me. I was doing just about anything to keep my head on, including taking silly videos and sending them to my friends. I'm cranking hard for 7.5 miles an hour. Just think, you guys could be riding with me right now. Ah!
There he goes. 190 miles or so. He made it.
Kind of windy out here. My vision of finishing the trip while sitting on a calm beach was met with the harsh reality of brutal wind that I had ridden straight into all afternoon. So I saved my reflection time by the water for the next morning. This was the longest trip I'd ever done to date, and I found myself feeling sad that it was actually over. Part of me just wanted to keep riding. But man, what an adventure.